covers a wide variety of programs, and Extension was set up through a federal act. Its Extension is in every county in the United States. There might be some that have gone downhill, over time, but we have a very rigorous and active program here. We cover things like small farms, so we work with small farmers and how to increase their profitability and sustainability. We work with the forestry program, where we mostly work with small woodland owners and how to properly manage their forests. We have the Master Gardener program, which is very active in Lane County. I think we have over 140 volunteers for that. We've got 4-H, which was our youth education program, and we're kind of rebuilding that program. I think there's one scheduled to be up the Mackenzie River here pretty soon. They do a lot of youth education. And then probably the best program is the Master Food Preserver program, because we're part of that. And what we do is we teach people how to preserve the food so that they can have food security and they can be healthy when they're eating the food. So we teach classes. This year we're teaching a class in a couple weeks on pickles, how to do pickles. We're going to teach a salsa class. We're going to do a canning meat class in the fall. We teach a wide variety of classes on that, and they're typically pretty well attended in Lane County. We do a lot of different things. The other thing that we do is we work with an organization to reduce food waste. It's called Waste to Taste, and it's in town. We get donations from various places, grocery stores, the slightly expired food, they give us that. And then we have a grocery store that people that need food can just make an appointment and come in and get it. And if there's food that nobody wants, like a number 10 can of diced tomatoes, the Master Food Preservers go into their kitchen and transform that food into what people will take. So we've been making spaghetti sauces and things like that. So it's all about our reducing food waste and preserving food. So I have 2 other people here today. We're going to cover the variety. The first thing you need to do under an emergency, and I don't need to tell you guys this, is have a good plan, right? And if we don't have a good plan, you're not going to be able to have a good implementation. I'm sure people have talked about that all day. So Katja Davis is going to talk about that. And then there's the food. You're going to be hungry in an emergency. How do you know your food is safe? How do you store it? What do you do with it? And Kim Redden is going to talk about that. And then I'm going to talk about water, which is probably one of the most important things. Fortunately, up here, you've got the Mackenzie River right here that's pretty clean. Still need to treat it, but water is still important. So with that, I'll pass the mic to Katja. Into
the mic. Can you hear me now? So family plan is very important, and it's hard to make a family plan because you don't know where you're going to be when the emergency happens. So with my family, who lives just 4 blocks down the street, we have a haphazard kind of plan that we, first of all, we stay put if we can, and then we go find each other. So the plan would be for my daughter to come 4 blocks down the street. They'd probably get me, and they have multiple vehicles at their house, so if we need to leave, we can do it. And I've got the stuff. I've got all the because they have the camping equipment, so they're all set. But I have the emergency food, the water straws, the water, that sort of thing. So that's as far as we've been able to really plan. It's just a wait and see and try to catch up with each other. Because we're not always even home. So my daughter could be out of town and the emergency could be at my house, a fire or whatever. So we decided that I would make a note and trot down the street and post it not on her house so that people would know she's not there, but I would post it on the telephone post across the street and tell her where I'm at, and she would know I'm going to be the only one that's going to do that, so she would know it was me. I guess I put my initials, but if I just put Mom, she'd know. So I'm going to talk about, somebody said earlier, I believe it was you, said something about a bug out bag.
Oh.
Okay, so yes, bug out bags are really important, and I timed myself getting out of the house to see if I could be out in 5 minutes time. to see if I was that well organized to get myself out the front door. Almost made it, but now I've got more stuff to take, so it's going to take me maybe 7.5 minutes to do it. But the first one that's going to, well, first one's going to go is the one that has my clothing in it, and because I'm always thinking that if my daughter or somebody else is in the hospital, I don't trust the hospital. I'm going to be there if I have to stay overnight. So I'm ready with clothing and whatever I need to stay for 3 days. And I have another one with all my medication and the vitamins. And I love these bags right here. I've gone through so many suitcases, but these are the ones that always last. The suitcase gets ripped, torn, but these, you can only use these so much, and they have held together so much better than the suitcase because these are carry-on, not the throw-on ones. So then the other one is, I have a file box, and in the file box, and it's a very small one, the file box contains all my documents, deeds, titles, my advance directive, my will, all of that stuff that you might need, my daughter might need if I don't come back. So then I have this bag right here, and we'll talk about it in length. This is the emergency prep bag with the equipment stuff in it. I also have a food box that's about this size, and a file box is fine for a food box. I also have another one which is an ammo box, which is nothing but freeze-dried food, and you may have seen that advertised a lot on social media for the 4 Patriots. And so the food I've had is about 5 years old, so it's good for another 20 years. It will outlast me. My grandkids will be eating that. Then I have water. I have water stored inside the house, and then I have the big jugs outside under cover. And I've never had, as long as they've never been opened, they will be good for as long as necessary. Eventually they'll be opened up and water the garden. So the only thing I need to grab, in addition to these 6 bags, is I would want to grab my purse, my phone, and the charger. And out the door I would go. So we're going to talk about this bug out bag right here, and I just put in just the most necessary things to haul up here today. So how many of you seen the tents? The sleeping bags. These have been advertised on social media, and they run about $11 each unless you buy a whole bunch of them. And so this was from Amazon, and I'm not going to unroll it because I'll never get it back together again. And
Nope.
So the way it works is it's lined with aluminum stuff, and it reflects your body heat, and it could absolutely save your life. I have an emergency foil blanket just in case I would need that, and also a poncho, which is great to travel, because I've been in places where it starts off sunny in the morning, and the next thing you're in an absolute deluge, and you're soaking wet, and you're miles from where your dry clothes are. You need to have light. So I love flashlights. I have so many of them. I have a couple in every room almost, but this is the one that you can recharge just like your cell phone, and it has several functions. Just a regular flashlight, then it does this strobe thing, like that, and then it does something else. I'm not sure. And I like the flashlights because I've always thought, what if I'm driving a car? Oh, I wouldn't be, but if I were in a car and the car goes down over a cliff, you don't know if they're going to find you anytime soon. So I'm assuming that it might be a day or more than that. So I have the flashlights that do that little strobe thing, and you've probably seen these at Fred Meyer, and they're solar powered. So it has this, and it flashes, and it does something else, and it dims. and it has a little handle that you can pull out, and it's like a lantern. It will totally light up a small room. It would light up your car if you need that to happen. And I always thought, if I'm down there in the car, I'm going to turn on one of these, make a strobe light type thing, and then I've got the whistle, and I'll just blow on that whistle, and people will wonder what that awful noise is, and maybe they'll come find me, maybe they won't. This also has a little compass on the end. This is about a $6 thing that you get at Freddy's or Buy Mart, and on the inside, it unscrews, and the inside are matches. So I always carry more flashlights. This one's a battery one, and I carry a knife, and Cabela's is one of the great place to go to find inexpensive stuff. Matches. These are the matches that I think that are waterproof ones. Well, the case is waterproof, and I've waterproofed some of my stick matches. You just light a candle, let the wax drip down, blow out the candle, dip your matches into it, and it coats the head of the match so that when you strike it, it will strike even in rain. First aid kit, always. Toilet paper for the intention that it was manufactured. And always, what do you call this? Hand sanitizer. And also a mirror. This one, in case I'm down in that ravine, not to be found, I can find the sun and flash it, and I hope that somebody would see that. So, if I'm dirty, I have got these little washcloths. They're little tiny tablets, and you get them wet, and they blow up into something the size of a wash rag. And then you've seen this, they're very, very popular in Japan. And these are little leaf soaps, and they're very tiny and very thin, and you just get some water on them and lather up and dispose of them. And then my favorite are the radios. I have shortwave radio here, and I have another one that I buried. Oh, this guy right here. Okay, this is a $17 radio, Amazon, and you can program it to any station you want. So if you were bored, you could listen to classical music or whatever you want. This one, the shortwave radio, I can get all kinds of stuff on it. I can get the the weather stations and that sort of thing. And I have yet another one that's much larger that I think is the crank type one, so that you don't ever run out of juice. And I think that's all I brought for today, I think. Yes. And at home, I've got 3 times more stuff that's just in case. So I'm going to turn this over to Kim, and she's going to tell us about this lovely food box.
So when you're packing for food, you don't need to go whole hog right off the get-go. You can pack for a day, and then next month you can add another day, and so that you should at least have 3 days stockpiled, preferably 2 weeks worth stockpiled. Being a master food preserver, I have canned goods on my shelf that will last a year probably. Like I have 600 jars on my shelf. An overachiever.
Or going to their house.
Yeah. So everybody comes to my house, and I'm on the flatlands. But the things that these are all dehydrated foods right up here, so they're going to keep until they get moist. Just put them in your food dehydrator and then keep them in a jar, and they'll stay for 3 years at least. But also when you're packing food, you want to pack food that you're going to eat. You don't want to buy things that are on sale that your family's never going to enjoy. You don't want to be in you're already under stress by being in a disaster situation, so you want to have things that your family is used to, that they're going to go to eat. So these are MREs, freeze-dried foods. Some more dehydrated foods. Some fun stuff like instant oatmeal. These chicken or tuna things that you can get in. There's a tuna package. Tuna things that you can just open up and eat. You also need, something to eat it out of. A little bowl in here, and is this a burner too?
No.
But then there's also a spoon and fork to eat with. Some things you just need to add water to. Some other fun stuff. Some potatoes. Some soup. So these are all things that you would enjoy as you were in a disaster situation. Trash bags, really important. Look, set of gloves. I'm actually digging into Jenny's disaster box here.
And why is that?
Because I don't have a very good disaster box.
Yeah.
Ramen. You never know when you need the ramen. And so, those are some of the things that you would want to pack that you and your family would enjoy. Right? Pack what you'll enjoy.
Really need a French press in mine.
Oh,
Yes.
All right. Well, just a second. So this is my water stuff. So we all know we need water more than anything, right? And what the standard line is that you should have a gallon of water per day per person. That doesn't include your pets. So if you have horses, you need like 25 gallons of water a day for them. So you need to be prepared to be able to get clean water. Now, as I said earlier, you guys have the Mackenzie River here. You probably could, most of you, be able to walk to the river and get some water.
After the fire, though, the river was polluted.
Turbid, right. And even without the fire, it's still,
right.
You need to treat it. So how do you treat that much water? Probably there's a lot of different tablets you can put in your water and do that kind of thing. Probably the most cheap and effective way to treat your water is through bleach. So I keep some unscented bleach in my house and in my emergency bags because it only needs like 6 drops per gallon to stabilize that water. So it might still look turbid, it might still be brown, but all the bugs would be killed if you put 6 drops of water per gallon. Bleach does eventually lose its effectiveness, so you should check your bleach bottle every once in a while and make sure it's cheap. Go ahead and get bleach. 5 years, get a new bottle. How do you store the water? So many different ways to store the water. I think one thing I always forget is I have 50 gallons of water in my hot water tank. So all I need to do is drain my hot water tank. It's clean. I turn the water off at the spigot so I don't get dirty water coming into the house. I can just drain my hot water tank and drink that, or use it to flush the toilet, or use it to wash the dishes, or that sort of thing. There's many other types of water storage. I just brought this one because it's small. This is a collapsible bag, plastic bag. It holds 2.5 gallons of water. Very nice. The reason why I like it is the 5-gallon bucket of water, I have trouble lifting it. I can lift 2.5 gallons. So that's nice. And I have a number of these cubes, you can stack them, that's stored in a dark, cool spot in the house. So I put them in my laundry room because that's my dark, cool spot, and I just leave the water there. I try to change it out once a year. As Katja said, I just feed it to the garden, and that works out great. There's a lot of other ways you can filter your water. I'm a backpacker, so this is a backpack filter. So this will do a quart in about 5 minutes. So I'm not going to flush the toilets by doing that. This is a water straw where you just put one end in the stream and suck on the other end. Very slow. Very slow, but for emergencies, I keep this in my car just in case. And then this is a cool device that I haven't used a whole lot of. This is called a SteriPen, and it uses electricity to kill the bugs that's in your water. So you just put this in your water, you press the button, stir the water with the SteriPen. So this is like 2 minutes you can get a quart of water that's clean.
Is that a UV light?
UV light. Yeah.
Funny story, make sure your batteries are fresh. You didn't, we all got sick.
Oh no. Yeah, and this one, I probably got it
No, just
10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, so it's not rechargeable. Get a rechargeable one if you can. If you're going to buy one of these, get one of those.
with a solar charger.
Yeah, with your solar panels that you have set up with a battery, you know, one of the things this last year we had the ice storm. Springfield lost power, lost water. I live off River Road in Eugene, so I didn't lose any of that. But one thing I didn't think about was that I have an RV. Well, the RV has solar panels, it has a battery, it has a refrigerator, it's got gasoline to run its generator that can power my freezers, so my freezers don't fail. So think outside the box. You don't just, if you lose power, the ice storm that was probably 12 years ago, we were out of power for 5 days. That was a long time. When you get out of power, what do you do with your freezers? Because that's probably the most valuable food you have in your house, is the stuff that's in the freezers. That's your meat, that's some of your vegetables. So if your freezer fails, if power goes out and your freezer's off, the first thing you do is you throw a big old sleeping bag on it. One of those ones that's got the hunting dogs and stuff, big fluffy sleeping bag. Throw that over your freezer and tell everyone not to open the door. Don't open the door. Because as soon as you start opening the door, you're going to start losing cold. So you can tell if you like the poor folks in Springfield last year, they were out of power for 10 days. How do you know what's safe to eat from your freezer? So there's a way that I think it's an ingenious way, is to take a jar of water. It doesn't have to be plastic. I don't like glass in my freezers, but take a jar of water, fill it up, and once it's frozen, put a coin on the top. And then if it starts to melt, the coin is going to migrate down, and if it's down to the bottom, you know that it has gotten warm in your freezer. So we have a hotline that we staff from July through October every day, where people can call and ask questions about food preservation. That year that Springfield lost power, so often, so many calls. I mean, there was one old guy who had spent the last of his back picking huckleberries. And he had all these frozen huckleberries, and he wanted to know if he can eat them, and they were soft and squishy, and he had to throw them out. So if you have any questions about your food safety, obviously if meat thaws, that's going to be your first, you want to throw that stuff out, because bad bacteria like meat, just like we do, and it'll make you sick. Fruit, if you still have some fruit that has some ice crystals in it, it's okay. So if you do have questions, though, don't hesitate to call our hotline. I think Emily back here has how do you contact Extension at her table back there. So that'd be great. So we've covered the bug out bags, we've covered food and food storage. Again, look for stuff that your family will eat and store it in a cool, dark spot under your bed or something. And then we covered clean water. So the one last thing, I know you had a question about how is Extension funded, or about how the other organization was funded. I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. So Extension does receive some federal money, and it does receive some state money, but most of its money comes from a ballot measure that you passed 4 years ago. The voters are asked about every 5 years whether or not they would vote for funding Extension. We have a ballot measure coming up next year, probably next May, maybe in November. But anyway, so you'll be seeing some advertising about that. The last couple ballot measures, we had people up and down the McKenzie Valley saying, vote for Extension. But I don't know what it's going to look like this next year, but that's how it's funded, mostly by county money. And we appreciate that. We do a lot of good things in the community. I think The last time we had a good count, I think just the Master Food Preservers had 23 full-time equivalents in our volunteer hours. So you're paying for one person from Extension and you get 23 full-time people doing just the food preservation part. I don't know where the Master Gardeners are at this point. There's a lot more of them.
Yeah, I think they're about 50 or 60 FTE.
Yeah, so it's very much worth your money to vote for Extension. So.
And it shows up on your property taxes. If you look at the itemized property tax thing, it was $7 for last year. I mean, what a bargain.
Yeah, less than a hamburger. So, anyway, well, thank you very much. Thanks for inviting us out here. Like coming out here. Good luck with everything.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you,
Sure.
Section.